There's plenty of interest in the Middle East region. Maybe just talk to us about what growth opportunities you see specifically for Citi and in which areas. Is it wealth? Is it advisory? Give us more details.
I have been increasingly coming to the region with greater regularity since I became CEO. And that, I think, is a reflection of three distinctive traits that the region has. The first is the long-term vision. If you are looking for a sense of clarity of direction as to where the region is headed economically and a more holistic view, you have that long-term vision and leadership here. The second element is just cohesion. There is a cohesiveness around the view that a rising tide will lift all boats. Yeah. And you hear that when you talk to the leaders of businesses and in the government. And then finally, the fundamentals. If it's energy, if it's oil, if it's talent, and strong technical talent, all of these different pieces come together. And I think that is driving a lot of interest, not only from countries that have typically had a long history in the Middle East and indeed in Africa, but India, China, a huge amount of dialogue there.
Yeah. And would you say that those, three verticals that you just highlighted are most revenue additive for your advisory business or your wealth business? Is there any particular business that you think will grow more?
We're watching our clients be very active across the board, and so really firing on all cylinders. Yeah. As you'd expect with everything that's happening in the world, there's been a lot of engagement around supply chain reconfiguration, a lot around hedging. There's been a lot of dialogue around financing, and the piece that's been very active has been M&A. Yeah. A lot of corporates are on the front foot now that we've got a lot more policy clarity, as the tax policy and the tariffs and deregulation have been coming together.
It's interesting that you say that on the M&A side, because there is a lot more competition. What you're hearing is that margins get squeezed on some of these deals. How do you stand out in that environment, or are there any particular clients that you're targeting in that space to differentiate?
The area that we've been seeing a lot of activity has been cross-border, at which Citi is very advantaged. We've been in the UAE for over 60 years now, for example, many Asian markets for over a century. So there's an advantage just of the depth of relationships and understanding we have here. But it's technology. AI, digital asset space. I think we cannot underestimate how much the client base is innovating at the moment. And so we're seeing quite a lot of activity as industrial companies are looking at technology adjacencies. Healthcare is looking at different adjacencies. Yeah. So it's a combination of a race for scale and a race to innovate.
And let me just ask you on the wealth side, HSBC, for example, have had to pull back from some of the ultra-rich clients that they cover in the region. Do you sense that there is an opportunity here to pick up where your competition has had to pull out?
Yeah, we have been growing very rapidly in wealth management in some of the major offshore centres. And I am particularly excited about the opportunities here because we're seeing the Middle East, Abu Dhabi, Dubai in particular, as well as Saudi, getting a lot of attention from India, from China, from some of the wealth that's being created in Africa, as well as the traditional areas, and indeed here in the Middle East, because there's a vibrant private sector and a lot of wealth creation. Citi is the bank for progress makers, less so for the retired doctors and dentists internationally. And I think because of that, we become a natural magnet for talent and a natural magnet for clients.
Do you have a target in terms of how many personnel or headcounts you're looking to increase by in the region, or possibly even balance sheet commitment?
We don't have a particular target, but we know that we're growing. And for me, it's really making sure we have the right apprenticeship models in place, we have the right culture in place, and that we're a home for women and men from all over the world that are excited to be part of everything that's happening here.
We spend a lot of time on this show talking about what the region and Africa also can do to attract FDI. What role do you see for Citi in helping to facilitate that process?
We've just had a couple of very exciting different conferences. We had one in Japan where we had many of our African colleagues over in Tokyo and presenting And there was a huge amount of interest in Japan about investing into Africa, and this could be into Egypt or into Nigeria, Kenya, throughout the region. Similarly, we had another session the week later in São Paulo in Brazil, and another area where there was an enormous appetite to look at Africa and start making more of the FDI there. I'd say it's not at the stage where we're seeing huge flows yet, but the level of interest has been enormous, the level of engagement, and we're anticipating quite a lot of activity coming off it. We're just very well placed as a bank that is everywhere to make those connections, but it is exciting to see it happening.
So let's talk about the stock price performance. The Citi stock is up 38% this year. You've outperformed your peers. Do you feel vindicated that the market are finally coming round to your restructuring story?
Yeah. Look, we are a bank on a mission, and the mission is delivering results. So we're excited about what lies ahead. We can see it in our banking business. Services, which is our crown jewel, just keeps going from strength to strength. It's been a very active market for us, particularly with corporate clients, not only FIs in services. Wealth has been growing well, and the US consumer is resilient. So I think with the focus we've had, the mission that the whole firm is on, and the clarity we have, it's been helping drive record business performance. It's been attracting talent, and it's been delivering.
Is the transformation over?
We're at the back end of the transformation, so it's good to see that. We're happy to get the last pieces done. We're operating mainly at the target states. But when you step back from regulatory transformation, the AI transformation is just beginning. And so when we're looking at the digital asset space, blockchain, when we're looking at what's happening in AI, it's very exciting. I don't think any of us quite know where it ends, but
do you see AI fundamentally transforming productivity of the bank?
Yes, I do. We have a set of tools that almost all of our 240,000 employees have around the world access to. I use it myself every day, helping with summarization and helping me be more productive. And that's helping our coders, it's helping compliance, it's helping with HR queries. But then you've also got a lot of top-down use cases. I think the future is agentic, though. That is when we're going to really see the game changer, and we're just scratching the surface there.
I want to ask you about your outlook for the U.S. economy. The feeling is we may actually be seeing a jumbo cut next week out of the Fed. What is the House view on the slowdown that we're seeing in the U.S. labor market? Are you anticipating a recession or just a slowdown in the U.S.?
No, one is always surprised by the upside and the resiliency of the US. So let's look at what's gone on. Is you've got to look at the collective impact of the tax policy, what's been happening with tariffs, and indeed the increasing deregulation that we're seeing. And they work together as a package. I think the most important piece for a corporate: clarity. We hate uncertainty. We like clarity. And our client base now is really starting to act with more confidence now that we've got clarity on those three fronts. So active in the capital market arena, in financing, much more active in investing, less sitting on the sidelines. And M&A has been very, very active indeed, as we talked about. And on the consumer side, pretty robust spending through the summer. And we saw that really across all categories, helped a bit by lower gas prices. But the consumers being fiscally responsible, being more mindful around some spend, but still the spending levels were very pleasing.
So the momentum was pretty strong across all lines of your business in the second quarter. Of course, I don't want to precipitate the upcoming earnings, but can that momentum continue into the end of the year, just in terms of what you're seeing in advisory, in deal making, and in trading? Because it was a very strong quarter for trading as well.
It was exceptional for us on all fronts. I still see very strong pipelines. I see high level of engagement from clients. I see a sense of urgency as well, given the speed with which industry structures are changing. And there is still growth opportunity. I think growth will be a notch lower. We're keeping an eye on the labour market. It's a low churn market. So not everything is rosy. but we don't see a recession on the horizon.
So Citi increasing, global bank, obviously establishing here, your presence over here as well. But at the same time, we talk about multiple geopolitical shocks. At the top of the show, we were speaking about the latest Russian incursion into Poland. We talk about geopolitical risk over here. We talk about tensions between U.S. and China. As a bank, how do you navigate all of those potential geopolitical sensitivities and the barriers that are going up around the world?
We're in doing business in about 160 countries around the world. We have local banking license, people on the ground in almost 100. And we've been in many of these countries for a very, very long time. So this isn't classic suitcase bankers, fly in, fly out. There's a really deep knowledge of what's going on. And a lot of the services we provide are what help the economies and the companies do business every single day. So for us, there is a mission to make sure that we are operating with resiliency and with rigor to support our clients. And we tend to move activity around the world as clients ebb and flow in different geographies. So the Middle East is probably on a rip for the next decade or so in terms of how much investment and new industries, new clients coming in. Other areas will probably see some more diminishment in. So we flex where it is. Our people are globally minded. They move around the world as to where opportunities are. And it's a moment where Citi shines, where there is volatility. The clients need us.
Well, Middle East, a rip on the next decade. That's a good headline, Jane. I do want to bring it back to an article that Bloomberg published a couple of weeks ago that Citi had hired an external counsel to look into some allegations that were made against your global head of wealth, Andy Sieg. You've not commented yet on the outcome of these investigations. Are you satisfied with the outcome?
Look, I gave Andy a very clear mandate when he joined Citi, which was to transform our wealth business. And I'm very pleased with what he, the team and the business have achieved in terms of transforming it. If you look at our investment revenues the last really since the beginning of the year, they've really outperformed. They've been very strong. We have a terrific team, and I'm very comfortable with the direction that we're going.
And just in terms of some of the allegations that were made, some of the allegations included, intimidating, publicly humiliating executives. Obviously, these are very grave, many of them women. How do you reconcile some of those allegations with the culture that you're trying to build within Citi, your own values that you want Citi to espouse?
I'm very comfortable. We looked into the matter seriously, and I'm very comfortable with where we came out. We set ourselves with very high standards on all fronts. We hold ourselves to them. And I'm very proud of an exceptional team that we have in wealth, almost half of whom are women on the senior leadership team. They're an exceptional group from within and outside the bank.
Do you think there's been a change for the better in terms of broader Wall Street culture?
I do. From when I first started working in the 80s to now, it's wonderful to see a greater diversity of backgrounds, greater diversity of nationalities. And I look at it within our own bank. We've got a leadership team from all over the world, and that's something we're very proud of. Good people.
Yeah, that's always a positive. I want to round up a question about your return to work policy, because increasingly many of your peers are mandating 5 days back in the office. And from what I see, you don't have that mandate yet. It's still 3 days, from what I understand. Are there going to be any changes on that front? And what has been the feedback so far to this hybrid working model? Yeah,
look, it depends what job you're in. If you're on the trading floor, as you remember from your days, you need to be on the floor 5 days a week. You're there because the information's around. You need to hear what's going on, be with the team. And the same for a lot of the apprenticeship models for our juniors, being near your boss, seeing how the teams are working. There are a lot of collaboration. You need to be together. So I do believe that we are better together. Not all jobs need to be in 5 days a week. I benefited from flexibility. I worked part-time for 5 years when my kids were little. I worked very hard during those 5 years, and it was not to the detriment of my career. So I believe in giving people some flexibility as long as they're delivering and performing their job well.